Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ramon and I'm gonna show you some movies again. Uh, Most of these movies are family comedies, teen movies, some dramedies. Let's start with the first one. This is Curtis Hanson's Wonder Boys with Michael Douglas and Tobey Maguire. Good film. The sports comedy Tin Cup is in my collection with Kevin Costner, Rene Russo and Don Johnson. Always liked Don Johnson. This is the comedy That Thing You Do with Liv Tyler and Ethan Embry, directed by Tom Hanks. One of my personal favorites, Shane Black's Kiss Kiss Bang Bang Neo Noir starring Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer and Michelle Monaghan, I think her name is, yeah. Terrific screenplay and terrific dialogue in this film. This is the extended cut of Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous with Kate Hudson. And this is an early Cameron Crowe film, Singles, starring Bill Pullman, Bridget Fonda, Matt Dillon, and it's about young people dating in Seattle. 5 movies by director Alexander Payne, Laura Dern in the black comedy Citizen Ruth about abortion, Jack Nicholson and Kathy Bates in About Schmidt. My personal favorite of Alexander Payne, Sideways with Thomas Hayden Church and Paul Giamatti. George Clooney starred in The Descendants. And Laura Dern's father, Bruce Dern, was in this terrific film, Nebraska. Hugh Grant and Andy McDowell and Rowan Atkinson in 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Big hit back in the day. And Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts were in Notting Hill. Everyone knows this one, and I like it, this one. It's a naive film, but a feel-good comedy. Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. And another romantic comedy, America's Sweethearts with Julia Roberts, John Cusack, Billy Crystal, and Catherine Zeta-Jones. And another personal favorite of mine, Stephen Frears' High Fidelity with Jack Black, John Cusack again, and I think Catherine Zeta-Jones is also in it. Forgettable film starring Heather Graham and unrecognizable Robert Downey Jr., Two Girls and a Guy. And this was an entertaining feel-good drama, Irish director, I believe, Once. Not a silly comedy, Dude, Where's My Car with Ashton Kutcher and Sean William Scott. And I hated this one back in the day. Nowadays, I think it's a quirky, interesting movie. Super Mario Brothers, the movie with Dennis Hopper, John Leguizamo, and Bob Hoskins. We loved this family film when it came out, Babe, starring James Cromwell. But this one, the sequel, I liked even more. It was a lot darker, directed by Mad Max director George Miller. Babe, Pig in the City. Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub are brothers that own a restaurant in this very fine film, Big Night. And Jason Schwartzman and Bill Murray in Wes Anderson's Rushmore. One of my favorite Anderson films, an early one. Edward Furlong and his friends try to attend a concert by the rock and roll group Kiss in Detroit Rock City. And a bittersweet dramedy starring Kathy Bates and Mary Stuart Masterson, Fried Green Tomatoes. And this is another pretty good film starring Gwyneth Paltrow, the drama Sliding Doors. Next tag, whoop. John Goodman in the comedy King Ralph. Robin Williams in the Disney film Flubber. I think this was a remake of an early Disney film with Fred MacMurray, the absent-minded professor. Yet again, a Disney film, Operation Dumbo Drop. Not very good, but okay for a watch. Family film. And this is Beautiful Girls. This one I really like, about a group of friends, all in their 20s, and they return to their hometown for a high school reunion. Also starring a very young Natalie Portman. Julie Warner and Michael J. Fox in Doc Hollywood. Doc Hollywood, and this is one I always liked, a feel-good movie. I really like Cher in this one, and Winona Ryder. Mermaids. Winona Ryder was also in this film alongside Ethan Hawke and Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller directed this one, Reality Bites. Oh. And a later teen comedy, high school comedy starring Emma Stone. It was okay, Easy A. Then the early 2000s, a comedy that I like, Rat Race. Comedy that is like the classic It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Rowan Atkinson, John Cleese, Whoopi Goldberg. Good one. I think his name is Stephen Root from back in the day, News Radio, the sitcom. Office Space, Jennifer Aniston. And this is a film starring Billy Crystal and David Paymer. I think his name is Mr. Saturday Night. Forgettable romantic comedy starring Andrew McCarthy, Kelly Preston, and Helen Hunt. Only You. And Goldie Hawn, Diane Keaton, Bette Midler in The First Wives Club. A teen classic, in my humble opinion, George Lucas' American Graffiti. Raul Julia, Angelica Houston, and Carol Kane, Christopher Lloyd in The Addams Family. And the sequel, The Addams Family Values. I think Penny Marshall directed this funny sports comedy, League of Their Own, with Tom Hanks. And this is a high school teen comedy starring Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles. 10 Things I Hate About You. I think this one was an update of The Taming of the Shrew. A raunchy teen comedy, American Pie, the only one that I own. Jim Abrams comedy Hot Shots with Lloyd Bridges and with Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was also in the sequel, Hot Shots Part 2. A Muppet movie, Muppet Treasure Island, starring Tim Curry. And another family film that I really like, The Mighty Ducks, with Emilio Estevez. Political satire starring Tim Robbins, Bob Roberts. Tim Robbins also directed this one. This is the Dutch DVD. I also own the US special edition. And this is another political comedy that I really like, Bulworth, starring Halle Berry and Warren Beatty. And Warren Beatty directed this one. Kevin Smith's Mallrats, one I really like, with Shannon Doherty and Jason Lee, Travolta and Olivia Newton-John in Grease. Comedy, throwback to the 80s, Hot Tub Time Machine with John Cusack. And this is a really stupid film. I think it was withdrawn from theaters, if I remember correctly. Whoopi Goldberg teams up with a dinosaur in Theodore Rex. I like the design of the dinosaurs. I love the sitcom back then that was produced by Brian Hansen, the son of Jim Henson, Dinosaurs. And that's why I bought this movie. Yeah, one of the golden duos of comedy, in my opinion. Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in The Odd Couple. And then As older men, they did a couple of movies together that I really loved in the 90s, like The Odd Couple Part 2, my favorite, Grumpy Old Man, also starring Ossie Davis and Margaret and Burgess Meredith. He's so terrific in this one. And this is part 2. Sophia Loren was added to the cast. And here Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon are going out to sea on a yacht to pick up chicks. This is the black comedy The Ref with Judy Davis and Dennis Leary, Kevin Spacey. And an early, almost forgotten Chevy Chase comedy that I really like, Foul Play with Goldie Hawn and Dudley Moore. Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong's first film together and their best, the stoner comedy Up in Smoke. And this is a fantasy comedy starring Michael Keaton and Andy McDowell, Multiplicity. Really great teen comedy written by John Hughes, career opportunities with a very sexy Jennifer Connelly. And I always like these type of vacation movies. It's a silly one, Captain Ron with Kurt Russell and Martin Short. Romance at the White House, Dave, Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver. And one of my favorite teen movies of all time, a Criterion that a friend gifted me. It was a gift, Dazed and Confused. A really bad film, the 7th Police Academy, Mission to Moscow, the only one that was released in the 90s. And another fantasy film for kids, Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker in Hocus Pocus. Maybe I should shove it. Yeah. Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci in Casper. 3 Beethoven films, the first 2 starring Charles Grodin, and then he was replaced by Judge Reinhold. And this one I think was released before Beethoven, the movie Bingo. Another family film, and the first one was a really good one, Free Willy. And this is the first Herbie film starring Dean Jones, The Love Bug. And another classic Disney film, Blackbeard's Ghost, with Peter Ustinov and Dean Jones again. Rick Mayall and Phoebe Cates in Drop Dead Fred. And the duo Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson, I think his name is, did Guest House Paradiso after doing 2 very successful British comedies, The Young Ones and Bottom. Love those. Rachel Lee Cook in Josie and the Pussycats, a live action version of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon I saw back in the day, not very good. And Rachel Lee Cook was also in She's All That, teen comedy. Michael Cera and Jonah Hill in Superbad. And a black comedy by John Waters starring Kathleen Turner, Serial Mom. This one is very entertaining, a bit overlooked, soap dish with Robert Downey, Whoopi Goldberg, Sally Field and others. And this was a teen romance film with some thriller elements added to the mix, Mystery Date. I don't think many people know this, with Ethan Hawke. Kirstie Alley, Bill Pullman in Sibling Rivalry, also starring Ed O'Neill and an appearance by Sam Elliott. Love Sam Elliott. And this is my recommendation for the day because nobody knows this movie. The Wrong Guy, starring Dave Foley, who was the star of a sitcom I loved in the 90s. It was a news radio with Joe Rogan and Phil Hartman. This is a really great film. The Wrong Guy takes the premise of Hitchcock's The Wrong Man with Henry Fonda and turns it on its head. Very funny, also starring Jennifer Tilly. Matilda, Danny DeVito directed and stars in it, and Mara Wilson, Matilda, Roald Dahl, and Danny DeVito also directed this strange black comedy starring Robin Williams and Edward Norton, Death to Smoochie. Danny DeVito in Renaissance Man with Gregory Hines, and yes, Dutch cover says Marky Mark, so that's his name. And Danny DeVito and Kevin Spacey in the movie The Big Kahuna. Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick in a Christmas comedy, Deck the Halls, which is okay. And I really like this one, Will Ferrell and James Caan in Elf. Tim Allen in The Santa Claus. I also own the second one. Judge Reinhold is also in those movies. And in the third one, they added Martin Short to the cast, Escape Clause. Then a musical version of Scrooge starring Albert Finney. Good one. And this is the remake on the Miracle on 34th Street with Mara Wilson again and Richard Attenborough. Ethan Embry, who was also in Dutch in All I Want for Christmas. Santa Claus is played by Leslie Nielsen. Not very well known, I think, that movie. Beyond Christmas, aka Beyond Tomorrow, is a classic Christmas movie with Harry Carey. The Christmas Wish, aka The Great Rupert, with Jimmy Durant. And the original animated version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Chuck Jones. Chris Columbus, Home Alone, and Home Alone Part 2, Lost in New York. One stack to go, to hurry a little bit. Richard Linklater's School of Rock with Jack Black, and then the Farrelly Brothers with Shallow Hole starring Jack Black and Gwyneth Paltrow. Siamese Twins, Matt Damon, Greg Kinnear in Stuck on You. Again, the Farrelly Brothers, and this was their biggest hit. There's Something About Mary with Ben Stiller and Cameron Diaz. Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn in the comedy Dodgeball. And this is Wedding Crashers with Owen Wilson and Christopher Walken. Romantic comedy that I like, starring Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. They have great chemistry. 50 First Dates. They did 3 together. I only own 2. This is the best one, The Wedding Singer. This is the teen comedy Road Trip with Sean William Scott and Tom Green. And this is a romantic teen film with thriller elements, dark elements. The Girl Next Door, Elisha Cuthbert and Emile Hirsch. Will Ferrell movies like Old School. The one I like the most, Semi Pro with Woody Harrelson. And this one is also funny. Will Ferrell and John Heder, I think his name is, Blades of Glory. The last film that Gene Hackman did is worth a watch. The comedy Welcome to Mooseport with Ray Romano. And another innocent comedy, you know, those are okay, those comedies. Justin Long and Jonah Hill in Accepted. Comedy drama, Something's Gotta Give, Jack Nicholson, Keanu Reeves, Diane Keaton, and Steve Carell in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. This one was okay, starring Reese Witherspoon, Legally Blonde. I never saw the sequel. And this is John Tucker Must Die, another teen comedy. And I Love You, Beth Cooper with Hayden Panettiere. She's Out of My League. Alice Eve, she was such a beautiful woman. I like this one. And this is Tropic Thunder, Ben Stiller, Jack Black, Robert Downey. Underrated romantic comedy from the early 90s, Straight Talk, starring Dolly Parton. She's really good in it. And James Woods plays her love interest, and he's very good in this one. Straight Talk, good film. And this one was very disappointing. Alan Barkin and Jack Nicholson and Bob Rafelson's Man Trouble. Bob Rafelson did better movies with Jack Nicholson. And the last one for today is the comedy In and Out with Matt Dillon and Kevin Kline. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you are able to discover or rediscover some movies by watching my videos. Hope you will join me next time. Goodbye.